Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, you are welcome in this lecture, and today we are going to discuss economics of fertilizer use. The learning objectives are to learn the fitting of response curves, particularly the quadratic relationship. Now you would surprise that he is from agronomy side dealing with soil fertility and nutrient management, but he is teaching us response curve. Actually, this response curve fitting is used to decide or to find out or to determine the optimum rate of fertilizer application. That we are going to learn today. That is the main thrust of today's lecture. So some terms like manure, term generally restricted to animal dung based bulky organic manures, compost, oil cakes, bone meal and other animal meals. Municipal solid waste, a mixture of domestic, small scale industrial and demolition solid waste generated within a community. Phosphocompost, phosphorus enriched compost, a type of enriched compost or fortified organic manure. Benefit cost ratio BCR. Sometimes one more ratio is there which is VCR, value cost ratio. The ratio of the value of extra crop produce minus cost of fertilizer or any other production input to the cost of fertilizer. It indicates the rate of net returns from the use of an input and hence is an important indicator of the degree of profitability from input use. So, we will see how this BCR can be calculated. Fertilization is the practice of applying fertilizers for plant nutrition. The fertilizers can be applied through soil, irrigation water or sprayed on plant leaves. By now you have learned all the methods of fertilizer application and nutrient application in some other lectures also. So, it is same as fertilizer application. Fertilizer, a mined, refined or manufactured product containing one or more essential plant nutrients in available or potentially available form. Marginal return, it is the rate of return for a marginal increase in investment. This is the additional output resulting from a 1 unit increase in the use of a variable input while other inputs are constant. Marginal cost is the marginal cost of production, measures the change in the total cost of a good that arises from producing one additional unit of that good. Now see maximizing net returns or value cost ratios. So why to study the economics of fertilizer use? Why it is important? It is important from two points of view. One thing is if farmers are using excess fertilizer and there is no increase in yield, then their profits will decline. So profit, to get maximum profit we need the ideal dose, ideal quantity of fertilizer. Second is if they are using excess dose, that means it is polluting the environment also because it is not used by the plant, excess, it is in excess. And also there can be some other case where farmers are under fertilizing, applying less dose of fertilizer. In that case they cannot derive the maximum benefit from the fertilizer application. Therefore, calculation of optimum dose or economics of the fertilizers becomes very important and pertinent. So, usually question comes whether a farmer should aim at maximum net returns from fertilizer use or at the maximum rate of gross return as indicated by the value cost ratio. However, the general rule is that VCR of at least 2:1, that is a return above the cost of fertilizer treatment of at least 200% is attractive to farmers. Further, the absolute net return should also be considered because at low application rates of fertilizer, the VCR may be very high owing to the small cost of the treatment and the associated high rate of response. But at low application rates, the net return would also be small and unattractive to the farmers. As the ratio of crop and fertilizer prices changes, the amount of fertilizer applied also needs to be changed in order to maintain optimal economic returns. It changes. Rates of fertilizer in India are not changing that much very fast, particularly for nitrogenous fertilizer. However, for phosphorus and potassium fertilizers, they are decided by the market. This concept of economic optimum dose or based on the rate of marginal return is used for the purpose. It is important that information on marginal yield and the prices of fertilizer and crop produce be available. Such computation can be made for any situation. Marginal yield means additional increase in yield or change in yield due to a unit change in input or increment. Most farmers, particularly in developing countries, often use less than the recommended fertilizer rates and do so too in an imbalanced manner. This is because of a number of factors that include their perception about the role of importance of each nutrient. Means farmers do not perceive the meaning of balanced fertilization. The anticipated yield increase, they don't know how much will be change in yield. Expected crop prices, cost and availability of fertilizers, level of financial resources and credit availability, land tenure considerations, the degree of risk and uncertainty and the farmer's ability to bear them. The required data set for a simple economic analysis, the minimum data required for economic analysis of fertilizer use consists of cost of fertilizer, value of the extra crop produced as a result of using the fertilizer, the rate of increase in yield per unit of nutrient applied or the rate of response. So, all these three I will show you how to use them in calculating or computing the optimum economic dose of the fertilizers. All these three parameters will be used in that. So, it will get more clear to you when we come to that point also. So, for nutrients that leave a residual effect and benefit more than one crop, the cost of nutrient should be distributed among the crops benefited. For a detailed economic analysis, the data set required is much larger and consists of, for example, we need to know cost, income or returns. So, in cost or expenditure, what is cost of fertilizer? Interest on loan taken to buy fertilizer until it is repaid. Transport charges of fertilizer to the village. Fertilizer application cost, labor, machinery and energy. Harvesting, threshing, winnowing and storage cost of extra crop produced by fertilizer. Cost incurred in storage of produce, cost of transporting the extra produce to the market, direct and indirect marketing costs, adjustment in fertilizer cost for residual benefit credited to the next crop. Income, sale proceeds from main produce resulting from fertilizer use, maybe grain, economic product may be grain, straw, fruit, tubers, whatever it is. Sale proceeds from products resulting from fertilizer use, and then gross returns, sum of items under income. So, suppose there are 2 or 3 different items of income, then you need to calculate the cost of all. Net returns, gross return cost, rate of gross return divided by cost. It is known as value cost ratio. Remember, when gross return are divided by cost, it is VCR, value cost ratio, and when net returns are divided by cost, it is BCR. So, this is very simple relationship between these two. Now, computation of economics. Apart from calculating the economically optimal nutrient application rates that are associated with maximum net returns, the rate of profitability of fertilizer use can be determined by using either VCR or BCR. The VCR is obtained by dividing the value of extra crop product by the cost of fertilizer or any other nutrient source. The BCR is obtained by dividing the net value of extra crop produce or net income after deducting fertilizer costs by the cost of fertilizer. Therefore, the VCR is an indicator of the gross rate of returns, while the BCR indicates the net rate of returns. In a simple way, BCR is equal to VCR minus 1. So, this is the relationship. Now, we come to the main points of this, that is determination of the optimum dose of the fertilizer. This is basically partial economics of the fertilizer. If one is interested for whole economics, then cost of cultivation should also be included. Then we can do the whole analysis. However, we can restrict here only to the optimum dose of fertilizer. So now question comes that how much fertilizer should be applied to get maximum return. This is the question. Means we need to find out the ideal rate of application. Can we find it by visual plant diagnosis? Through visual plant diagnosis, we can know the deficiency symptom that this is because of a particular nutrient, but we do not know how much to be applied on the basis of this information. Similarly, plant tissue test or plant chemical analysis, critical values, these all will give us the status of the nutrient, that this is the status, but they will never tell us how much nutrient should be supplied, because they don't know how much it can come from soil and how much will be required from fertilizer. Next is soil chemical analysis, like soil testing can be done, and status of available nutrients can be made known by soil testing. But again, we do not know how much nutrient from the soil can be contributed to meet out the requirement of the plant, and how much it is required from external sources. So soil testing is again will not give you the recommendation of the fertilizer. Then some people say, okay, let us do some pot experiment. That is also not permitted or not successful in telling you how much nutrient will be required. The only option left is to conduct the field experiment, fertilizer experiments under field condition at different test value of the nutrients, and then graded doses of fertilizer can be used. Maybe sometimes two sources can be used, sometimes one source can be used, and sometimes this source can be combined with many varieties, many crops, and so on. So to be very simple, I just give one example, that you are taking rice crop and you want to know the optimum rate of nitrogen application. So take just one variety of rice and take different doses of nitrogen. These doses of nitrogen will be your input X, which is independent variable, and yield will be your dependent variable. Then through this way we can decide the optimum dose of the fertilizer by conducting the field experiments on fertilizer, where we can also compare the relative effectiveness of different fertilizer sources also. So now suppose you have conducted a fertilizer experiment. Now what are different steps in interpretation of results obtained by conducting field experiment? Just I gave you example of rice and nitrogen. You have different rates of nitrogen in the rice, say 30, 60, 90, 120, and you have some yield of rice. Then what is done? You have conducted the experiment, you have recorded the data, the yield data you have recorded. Now what to do next? How to find the optimum dose? So this is the procedure. Suppose you have obtained the results are there, and you have done F test. F test is your analysis of variance test you have done, and you found that your F test is significant. I think most of you know what is F test, analysis of variance. So if the results are significant, then correlation and regression analysis can be done to find out the response curve or to fit the response curve. Please understand it carefully. Once your results are significant, then you can go for response curve fitting, and from response curve fitting some economic principles can be applied to find out the optimum dose of the fertilizer. That we are going to see today. Now see what is response curve. It is known as functional relationship between input and output will be a response equation. Equation can be represented in graphical form, means equation can be represented just as a graph, then it becomes a curve, otherwise they have same meaning. Relationship between yield and fertilizer rate is fertilizer yield function. The equation can also be called as function with a general mathematical form model. You can also call it model. The model, the function, the equation, the curve, they all have same meaning, no difference. Thing is same, just presentation is different. Model estimated from experimental data will give a realistic mathematical representation of the biological relationship indicated by the data. So through which we can get the numerical association between two variables. And see different forms of curve or models for relationship between input and output. Variety of relationship can be there. So one is linear, other is quadratic, cubic, quartic, exponential, and maybe some more kind of relationship. But most of the time under our case in field experiment, we have polynomial kind of relationship between the data, linear and quadratic. So the polynomial degree of 1 is linear, which is known as linear equation y is equal to a plus bx. So response is a straight line. Polynomials of degree 2, 3, 4 are called as non-linear or curvilinear. Please remember, linear relationship is y is equal to a plus bx, which is just a straight line. Curvilinear is equal to non-linear, same meaning. Non-linear in nature, representing versions of the law of diminishing return. So in curvilinear kind of relationship, economic interpretation are made from curvilinear relationship. Procedure for fitting different response functions to experimental data are available. Procedure for applying economic principles to experimental data via different response functions can be worked out by individuals who are interested. They can do economic analysis from the response equation that have been fitted. The linear response implies constant returns. Application of economic principles to this function is different from and simpler than the applications to curvilinear diminishing return equation. So overall, what I can say here is that if you have linear relationship, if it is established, the returns are constant with each additional unit of input. That means here you cannot decide the optimum dose of fertilizer. In case if your relationship is proved to be linear, you should not try fitting curvilinear relationship artificially. You cannot get economic optimum dose from the linear equation. So now you are going to fit the data, your data is significant, your F-test was significant. Now you want to see the mathematical relationship between two variables x and y. X can be your fertilizer rate and y can be yield. It is a method of finding the line of best fit between the dependent variable y and the independent variable x. That is known as response curve fitting. The field experiments record a great variety of data including crop yield. The recorded data are considered as observed value. Actual values are observed values used to fit the regression model. So these values will be considered as y dependent variable. These fitted values give a regression equation or line that can be used to get the expected, predicted or estimated. These three words have the same meaning. Either you call it expected, predicted or estimated values. They are on the line. So, but before fitting any relationship between input and output, it must be ascertained that the output due to different levels of input is always significant. So, we continue with the response curve fitting. Certain guidelines are there. It is not that every data can be fitted with response. You can find response curves. So, there are certain conditions. No straight line will pass exactly through all the points, although many can be drawn. Suppose you have x and y and you have plotted the original data. So, you can draw many lines. And now, how will you know that this line is the best fit? For example, if you go to a tailor and you have a cloth and you ask him to stitch the cloth, make your shirt. So, what he will do? He will take measurements. He will take measurement that how much is your arm length, how much is your girth, how much is your chest and so on. So, he will measure different parts of your body and according to that he will make the best fit. And you will ask him, okay, make me just a skin tight shirt. So similarly here we want the best fit. The data should be the best, the line should be the best fit. How can we do it? So can we devise a measure of all closeness of the fit of the various lines which can be drawn? It is also possible that data follow the diminishing kind of curve, wherein non-linear regression would be the better fit. The response curves are fitted by using method of least square. So this is how we can get the closest possible line to the data. How to get it? It is by method of least squares. So what is method of least square? A statistical method used to determine a line. Determine here means used to fit a line, used to find a line of the best fit by minimizing the sum of square created by a mathematical function. A square is determined by squaring the distance between a data point and the regression lines. I repeat it. A square is determined by squaring the distance between a data point and the regression line. On regression line, you will have predicted data or estimated data, and on data points, you have original point or observed data. Measure the distance, how far it is, what is the difference between observed and predicted value. Then you square those values, individual value for individual data, square those values and make the total. The line which is giving you the least value of these total is the best fit line. So you see how this method of least square is used here. So see, in this case, picture 1, picture 2, 3 and 4. So in 2, 3, 4, I have drawn these lines randomly. In the number 1, it is the best fit. So you can see the black one is y1, y2, y3 and data point is given in red color. And then you have one green line, this is the best fit line, and y0, small y1, y2, small y3, y4 in green. So this is your predicted data or estimated data, and you see the original data. So you see here in the picture number 1 that the observed value or actual value, some of the values are above the line, means the difference will be positive, and some values are below the line, means some your observed data is below the line. And you also see the distances of data point from the line. So you can see y1, y1, y2, y2, y3, this is the distance, and in the last case y7, y7, here it is minus. So you cannot make the total of these values because differences, some differences are positive and some differences are negative. Therefore, you need to square these values. And after squaring these values, these distances or these differences, you can take the total of all these values and see the line. There are some other line, number 2, number 3, number 4. See the line out of these 4, 5, 6. The line which is giving you the least value of the sum of square of distances is the best fit. And this is what we call method of least square. Now you see this table, output is written by capital Y0, Y1, Y2, Y3 and Yk, and small y, Y0, Y1, Y2 so on, corresponding value of expected. These are from the line. Now you see you do the difference of these two, observed value minus expected value, Y0 minus Y0. And you take this difference, square this difference and take the total of all data points. That should be the minimum, means y, capital Y minus small y whole square should be the least or lowest or minimum. That is why we call it least square. Now see residuals, because some of the data remains unrepresented by the equation. So in regression analysis, the error is the difference in the observed y value and the predicted y value. Because many times this line will not pass exactly from all the point. If it passes exactly from all the point, then there is no residual, there is no error. But still many times error is always there. So actually residual means error. So residual is actually the distance of a point from the curve, means actual value observed data minus predicted value. This difference is your residual or your error. A residual is positive when the point is above the curve and negative when point is below the curve. So you can see on the right side, one picture is there very clearly shown you. These blue squares, small blue squares, they are the actual data, observed data, and some are above the line, some are below the line. And this line is the particular line is the best fit, where values of y is equal to a plus bx, a and b have been identified and this data is fitted. So the red lines you can see, these are residuals or error, and you can make the total of all this, it should be 0. Now I can explain it more here also. You can see this red points jointing y1, y2, and you have the fitted line also, and make the difference of distance between these two, and that is your error. So see, this can be summarized in this table. So first is x is your input, n0 means this is your variable, independent variable. Next is y, suppose it is yield, this is dependent variable. This may be represented by y0, y1, capital Y. Then expected small y0, y1, y2. Now see the fourth column, sum of difference summation y minus phi. So observed value minus expected value make the difference, and then you square the sum of square of difference. First you square the individual difference and then make the total. So this should be minimum. Now from this we need to calculate, because our linear equation is y is equal to a plus bx. If we can find out the value of a and b, so that model, that line or that equation will be the best fit, best linear fit. So to do so, we need certain parameters to work out the value of a and b in linear equation. A is intercept and b is regression coefficient. Regression coefficient means change in y due to unit change in x. Delta y upon delta x is your b. Regression coefficient, which is also known as slope of the line. So to calculate value of b and a, you need these parameters like mean of x, mean of observed data, summation x upon n. I think you know mean is the simplest thing, arithmetic mean, and then mean of y is summation y upon n, means it is total of observed data divided by number of pair of observation. In such kind of response curve fitting, data are always in pairs, pair of x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3, respective pairs are always there. Then you need to calculate some corrected sum of square. The first one is small x square. Small x square is equal to summation x minus x bar and whole square. This is known as corrected sum of square for independent variable, and this is against mean. Then total sum of square is summation y square. Small y square is equal to summation y minus y bar whole square. So this is known as corrected sum of square for dependent variable. This is again against the mean of y. Then cross products summation xy, small xy, summation x minus x bar, y minus y bar. It is cross product of two variables, and then these, with the help of these data, these parameters or these terms, we can calculate the value of b and a. The values of constant a and b can be computed as b is equal to summation small xy divided by summation small x square. So if we put the values of these parameters calculated, then you will get the value of b. And value of a you can obtain simply by difference or simply by relationship a is equal to y bar minus bx bar. With this relation you can get the value of a. Mean is there, mean of both parameters you have already calculated. So the computed equation must be tested for linearity. The F test is used to see the linearity of the estimated equation, for which variation is partitioned into different components of ANOVA, analysis of variance. Dear friends, now suppose assuming that you have identified or find out the value of b and a. Now you can write the numerical value of b and a in the equation y is equal to a plus bx. Now question comes that how come we know that this is genuinely a linear equation? Can I call it a linear equation? Is there any statistical test that can tell me that it is genuinely a linear equation? Yes, test is there. I can test whether it is linear equation or not. So to do so, we go for again one F test, testing the linearity of the equation. So this is simple analysis of variance. You can see first column is source of variation. So for testing linearity, there are two sources, one is regression and other is residual or error, and then make the total of these two. Degree of freedom is 1 for regression. If we take linear regression, degree of freedom is 1. If quadratic regression, degree of freedom for regression is 2. If cubic, degree of regression is 3. So this is fixed depending upon the polynomial. If it is 3 polynomial, 3 like this. And then total is always n minus 1. N is number of pairs of observation minus 1, and residual you can calculate n minus 1 minus 1. So n minus 2 is for residual. Now we go to sum of square. Sum of square for regression is equal to summation xy whole square divided by summation small x square. This is known as sum of square due to regression. And then see the total sum of square, the last cell under the column 3. Summation y square is known as total sum of square, and it can be calculated by simply by difference. Sum of square, total sum of square minus summation x by whole square divided by summation x square. This is residual sum of square or sum of square due to error, can be calculated by deducting the total sum, deducting the regression sum of square from the total sum of square. So, this is easy. The next column is mean square. When you divide the sum of square due to regression or residual by their respective degrees of freedom, then you get the mean square. So, mean square can be achieved, and then f calculated is the value of f value of calculated value, then you see it is MSL by MSR, mean square due to regression divided by mean square due to residual or mean square due to error, and then you get f calculated. If your f calculated value, if calculated value of f is greater than table value at 1 n minus 2 degrees of freedom, then your results are significant. It means that your equation is genuinely a linear equation. If it is non-significant, that means it is not a linear equation. It may be quadratic, it may be cubic, it may be other form of polynomial, but it is definitely not a linear equation if the results are non-significant. So, mean square due to linearity, sum of square due to linearity or sum of square due to regression divided by degree of freedom, and similarly this I have explained you. The inference is that compare the calculated value to the tabular value at 1 n minus 2 degree of freedom. The linear relationship is just to be significantly different if the value of f calculated is greater than f table at the prescribed level of significance. Otherwise, we look for higher degree of regression, that may be cubic, quad or other higher degree. See this case, in this case on x axis it is nitrogen levels 40, 80, 120, this is independent variable. Y axis is grain yield, this is dependent variable, and just I made this picture to show you that in this case you can easily join two point. You can get the predicted points for intercept and for the B also. So, therefore, this is how we can have it, and see R square is 1, R square is coefficient of determination, and 1 is R, that is correlation coefficient. Now, we will see what is the difference between correlation coefficient and R square coefficient of determination, and how they are useful in this response curve fitting. So, see this here R square is 1, just see in this picture that if R square is 1, then your line is passing exactly through all data points. It is touching in the center part of the all data point whenever your R. So, this is the best fit line actually. No other line can be best fit like this wherever you have R square is equal to 1. So, now computation of coefficient of correlation and determination, they are very important. They tell us the fitness, whether we are successful in fitting the line or not. So, the simple linear correlation analysis deals with the estimation and test of significance of the linear correlation coefficient. So, what is linear correlation coefficient? It tells us the strength of relationship between two variables. If the values are very high, maybe minus side or plus side, you just see the numerical value. Sign does not matter here. Sign tells us the direction of change. If it is minus 0.999, that does not mean that it is poor. It is minus is just direction of change, means if one variable is increasing, other is decreasing. That is negative correlation. But correlation can be significant there. Similarly, positive correlation can also be there, where you can have higher values. So, this tells us the strength of relationship, how deeply two variables have relation. Higher the value, higher is the relationship, higher close is the relationship. So, there are certain features of correlation coefficient. The value of R lies between minus 1 to plus 1. Remember, extreme values indicating perfect linear association. Number 2, for example, with an R value of 0.9, the implication is that 9 multiplied by 9, it becomes and multiplied by 100. So, it becomes 81%. So, 81% of the variation in the variable y can be explained by the linear function of the variable x. This is the advantage, means remaining 19% could not be represented. 19% is the error, this line could not accommodate. So, the minus or plus sign attached to a R value indicates the direction of change in one variable relative to other, and this R square coefficient of determination is simply square of the correlation coefficient, and if you take under root of the R square, then it becomes correlation coefficient, but their interpretations are different, their meanings are different. So even though the zero value R value indicate the absence of a linear relationship between the two variables, but it does not indicate the absence of relationship. It is possible for two variables to have a non-linear or curvilinear relationship. The values of R does not change if all values of either variables are converted to a different scale. If we change from kg per hectare to ton per hectare, the value will not change. The value of R is not affected by the choice of x or y. Interchange of x and y will not change R. In place of x, if you write value of y and vice versa, so it will not change the value of correlation coefficient. And correlation coefficient measures the strength of linear association. It is not designed to measure the strength of an association that is not linear. So after linearity, we can do it. Now there are certain requirements for testing the significance of R. So the following requirements should be satisfied when testing hypothesis. Suppose you got certain values of the correlation coefficient. How would you know that it is significant? How would you know it is genuine relationship? So you need to go for a test. Testing in statistics, these tests are quite common. So you need to put a test to test the significance of correlation coefficient. So the following requirements should be satisfied when testing hypothesis or making other inferences about correlation coefficient. The sample of paired data is a random sample of a quantitative data, means your sampling has to be random. Number 2, visual examination of the scatter plot must confirm a straight line. Any outlier must be removed because they can disturb the relationship. So there are two tests to see that significance of correlation coefficient. One is t-test. T-test can be done R divided by under root 1 minus R square n minus 2. Other test is the test statistic R. It was used by R.A. Fisher. R.A. Fisher made our job very easy. I will show you. So suppose you are going for t-test, then test statistics is R under root n minus 2 divided by 1 minus R square. So you can calculate the value of t and compare with the table value of t. If it is significant, then that means if it is more than the calculated value of t is more than the table value of t, then we can say it is significant. Otherwise, your R is non-significant. But R.A. Fisher, he helped us, and what he did, the distribution of the correlation coefficient R for samples from a bivariate normal population having correlation rho is equal to 0 has been discovered by Fisher, who linked it with the students' t-test and with the transformation. You don't bother about this formula, but you see this table. This is like any other table, Z table, chi-square table, F table, or other tables. We also have R table, correlation of coefficient tables are available at different level of significance, 0.1, 0.05, 0.02, so on. And you also have number of pair of observation, 1 to any. So depending upon your pair of observation, you can find out the value of R. If your calculated value of R is more than table value of R, then it is significant, otherwise it is non-significant. So test the significance of R, it is easy. For example, in this case your 0.991 is your calculated R and table value is 0.950. So your calculated value is more than the table value, it means your correlation coefficient is significant. So inference is the R values are significant at 5% level of significance and non-significant at 1% level of significance. In the above case, implication is that 100 R square is equal to 100 into 0.99 square. You square, make the square of correlation coefficient, multiply by 100 and you get 98.2. Means 98.2% variability in Y has been accounted by the regression equation that you have estimated. Now there may be many ways to say it. See the last sentence. This implies that, means 100 minus 98.2, it comes out to 1.8% of the total variation in seed yield of mustard can be explained by factors other than nitrogen, because 98.2% has been accounted by nitrogen. So remaining 1.8% may be due to some other factors. Now see coefficient of determination. This is very important to see the fitness of your data, whether your data are fit or not. So it is the sum of square due to regression when expressed as a proportion of the total sum of square, means what percentage of total variation is represented by sum of regression. It measures the amount of variation in y accounted by the variation in x. R square indicates the proportion of the variation in the dependent variable explained by the model. So overall you can see formula of calculating R square is equal to sum of square due to regression. If you remember the table, you know how this sum of square for regression was calculated, and total sum of square was small y square, that was calculated by deducting the mean of y from different values of y. So R square, suppose in this case sum of square, assume was 6.27 and total sum of square 6.38. This is just assumption and you get 0.982. So that means 98.2% variability has been accounted by the relationship of nitrogen and yield. So the value of R square is the proportion of the variation in y that is explained by the linear association between x and y. The value of R square quantifies the goodness of fit, a fraction between 0 and 1. Remember, correlation coefficient value varies from -1 to +1, but R square values varies from 0 to +1. Higher values indicate that curve comes closer to the data. Statisticians use uppercase for the result of non-linear and multiple regression and lowercase for the result of linear regression. Either you write small r or capital R, it does not really mean much. It is same, just your taste whether you write small r square or capital R square. When R square equals 0, the best fit curve fits the data no better than a horizontal line going through the mean of all y values. In this case, knowing x does not help you predict y. So we can think of R square as a fraction of the total variance of y that is explained by the model. So now we will see the non-linear or curvilinear relationship. If our linearity was non-significant, then we need to go for higher order polynomial, and we can start with the quadratic. The relation between variables when the regression equation is non-linear, that is quadratic, cubic or higher order, is called the curvilinear or polynomial relationship. It is a form of linear regression in which the relationship between the independent variable x and y is modeled as the nth order polynomial. The curvilinear relationship among variables is quite common in biological organisms, including crops. The response to a variable is rapid at the beginning, slower at the intermediate level, and could even become negative at higher level of the variable. So it is just follows the kind of law of diminishing return, where in the beginning increase is slow, then it increases at a very fast rate, and then increase rate decreases slowly. So the pattern of plant growth over time, which usually starts slowly, increases to a fast rate at intermediate growth stages and slows down towards end of the life cycle. So this kind of relationship is there. So this is called as curvilinear relationship, and it can be quadratic, y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square, could be cubic where you have three terms, a plus bx plus cx square dx. So it can go on, but we restrict our study here only up to the quadratic relationship, because if our quadratic relationship is significant, then we can find out the optimum dose of the fertilizer. So what is the use of these kind of curves fit the quadratic equation? What we are going to do now, fit the quadratic equation, test the significance of curvilinearity, whether it is curvilinear, whether it is quadratic or not. Test is there. Plotting the quadratic response curve. Now softwares, computer, model are available. Even you can do everything in Excel now. Computation of coefficient of correlation and determination. Testing the significance of R, some inferences, and then we can compute the optimum economic dose. So these are the steps actually required to calculate the optimum economic dose. In crop production, we take several inputs and produce some output. So inputs like fertilizer, like seed, like herbicide, pesticide, etc. So in most of the cases we get quadratic response. So the response to fertilizer, plant population, irrigation and other inputs, any independent variable generally follows quadratic relationship. In case of fertilizer like NPK, usually the response is quadratic. through many experimentation world over, it has been proved that under case of fertilizers, the relationship is mostly quadratic. Before fitting such response equation, it is necessary to ascertain that the treatment variables have a significant effect on the dependent variable. It is already explained. Whenever we have F test significant, then only we can do this kind of work. The fitting of quadratic equation is shown below with a hypothetical example. This example is very hypothetical. Fit a quadratic equation from the data given in the following table and calculate the optimum economic dose of the K2O when the cost of 1 kg K2O is rupees 10 and price of 1 quintal rice is rupees 500. So, see in the first row, it is the rate of K2O application 0, 30, 60, 90, 120 and yield in grain yield kg per hectare. The different values are there. So, this is the data. This is known as observed data or actual data. X is known as independent variable and Y is known as dependent variable. So, these are the observed data. Now, we want to fit a line that can represent this data, because if we join points, these points can be joined directly, then we cannot make predictions, because we do not know what has happened at 20 kg K2O or 50 kg K2O or like that. So, we need to find out a best line that can represent this data. To do so, we need to do a lot of statistical work or mathematical work. However, there are many softwares that can do your job in seconds, but I would suggest all the students to see the background, because this software will never tell you what is the background behind it. So, you cannot have good interpretation unless you learn the fundamentals or basic thing or theory behind it. So, this is the theory behind regression line, means how to fit the line. So, in this case, you have quadratic equation, means y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square. So, in linear equation, you needed to know the value of a and b, but here there are three different variables for which you need to calculate them. So, for example, a, b, c. So, here a is intercept. Intercept means response at control. When you have 0 as control, so what is the response, what is the value of y, that is known as intercept, and b and c are regression coefficients. So, to calculate a, b and c, we need this kind of table, this kind of analysis. So, you see in this table there are about 12 columns starting from 1 to 12. The first column is kg K2O per hectare. This is Z1 is equal to x, because we need to calculate the corrected sum of square. It is a quadratic line. So, we need to straighten it, otherwise we cannot measure the distances unless we have straightened it with some relationship. So, see, corrected sum of squares are to be calculated like summation Z1 square, Z2 square, Y1 square, like that. And for our example, the linearized form of second degree polynomial is y is equal to a plus b Z1 plus c Z2. So, in place of x and x square, new variables have been created, that are Z1 and Z2. So, Z1 is in place of x and Z2 is in place of x square. So, these are linearized form of variable with certain relationship. So, this is required to do this analysis. So, see column number 1, this x input independent variable has been written as capital Z1. This is linearized form. Number 2 is y is grain yield, it is kg per hectare, and then Z2 is x square, x can be squared. The first column, column number 1 is squared to get the column number 3. 0 square 0, 30 square 900, 60 square 3600. Then column 6 is small z1, z1 minus z1 bar. So, you can take the mean of first column and deduct the values. So, you get these values. Column number 5, z1 square, you square the column number 4, you will get z1 square. Then z2, small z2, z2 minus z2 bar. So, z2 is your column number 3. So, deduct the mean of the column number 3, you get minus 5400 and so on. Column number 7 is your square of the column number 6. Then column number 8 is y minus y bar, mean. Then 9 number is total sum of square, small y square. And then you need to also calculate 10, 11 and 12. They are self-explanatory. They can be calculated by simply by multiplying the respective columns. So, for example, column number 12 says summation Z1 into summation Z2. So, it is multiplication of small z1 and Z2. So, you can see small z1 is column number 4 and small z2 is column number 6. So, multiply these two columns to get the 12. So, overall you will get these parameters and take the total of all these columns to get the sum of square. So, these parameters are actually required to compute the value of A, B and C. B and C are regression coefficient or slope of the line. So, now you see to calculate the value of B, you need to put values of these terms. These terms you calculated in the last page, and you get the value of B by putting respective values as 26.64. This is regression coefficient. And C, value of C, by putting some terms, you get minus 0.117. You need not to remember this formula, it is very complicated, but whenever required you can use it. Now, value of A can be computed simply by difference y bar minus bz1 minus cz2 bar. So, by putting the value of z1 bar, z2 bar and y bar, you calculate value of A. A is intercept, yield at control or response at control. Hence, value of A is 4861.60, value of B is 26.646, and you put all these values of A, B, C in the equation, and finally you get equation y is equal to 4861.66, 26.646 and minus 0.1178 x square. So, this is your equation, estimated equation. Now, you also need to compute the value of R square. So, R square can be calculated by B summation Z1 y plus C Z summation Z2 y and so on. So, by putting these values, you know how you got it, and you get value of R square as 0.996. So, which is very high value. And also, if you wish to calculate value of R, correlation coefficient, you can just simply take under root of this, that will be value of correlation coefficient. Now, compute the value of F, whether this is a quadratic relation or not. You need to test the significance of the equation like you did it for linear equation. So, in this case, formula is F is equal to n minus k minus 1, B and different terms and C below it denominator. So, all these parameters are known to us, and by putting the value we get the F calculated as 245. So, 245 is F calculated and your table value is 99. So, therefore, it is significant because your calculated value is higher than the table value. Therefore, it is genuinely a quadratic equation. Once it has been proved that it is a quadratic equation statistically, then we can apply some economic principle to it to find out the optimum dose of the fertilizer. So, because the computed F value exceeds the tabular F value at F1 is equal to F2 is equal to 2 degree of freedom, the estimated quadratic regression equation is significant even at 1% level of significance. Yield response of rice to K2O fertilization can be adequately described by the quadratic equation. So, this is really the kind of conclusion from this. So, R square is 0.996, that means you multiply it by 100, 99.6% of the total variation in mean yields was explained by the quadratic regression equation estimated. Now, now we need to determine the optimum economic dose from this equation. So, we will see how we can determine the optimum rate of fertilizer. So, rate which produces maximum economic return is the optimum rate of fertilizer application. OED's optimum economic dose of fertilizer can be determined if the response is quadratic. Many times people write it other way around, economic optimum dose or optimum economic dose, and some people simply say optimum dose. Even if somebody is saying optimum dose, that means it is optimum economic dose. So, it can be named differently by different people. In case of linear response, the optimum economic dose can never be worked out. I have seen sometimes students are doing a lot of mistakes. Your data is saying, suggesting and saying that relationship is linear, but by force you are making it quadratic. You are fitting the same data which was linear actually, you are using quadratic equation to fit this data, and sometimes your optimum economic dose may be much higher than the maximum dose which you have used in the experiment where you got the data recorded. Thus, first you need to test the significance of the equation, whether they are linear or quadratic, and once it is proved that it is linear, don't go for calculation of optimum dose. It can be done only when it is proved that your equation is quadratic. So, as a rule of thumb, optimal rates determined on an economic basis are smaller than those required to produce maximum crop yields. As I earlier told you earlier, that the optimum levels are really lower than the maximum yield dose. In many studies it has been proved, and on an average optimum levels are about 80 to 90% of the maximum yield dose. That is how we can work out the optimum economic dose as general sense if we have conducted some fertilizer experiment. So, economic yield targets usually do not exceed 80% of the maximum potential yield, 80 to 90%. It does not include economic variables such as fixed costs associated with fertilizer. From the quadratic equation y is equal to a plus bx plus cx square, the optimum economic dose can be worked out. OED is equal to Q upon P minus B upon 2C. Dear students, you must remember this formula. Whereas B and C are the regression coefficient, their values are already there in the equation. You have estimated them. Q is equal to cost of 1 unit of input and P is the price of 1 unit of output, Q upon P. So, this is just the ratio of cost and price. So, maximum yield dose can be worked out by minus B upon 2C. Put the value of B and C here and you will get value of this maximum yield dose. In this case, if you do the calculation, it is 113.09 kilogram K2O per hectare. Then you work out the optimum economic dose is equal to Q upon P minus B. Cost of 1 kg of input, that is potash, K2O is rupees 10, it is given in the example, and price is 5 rupees for 1 kg rice. So, 10 divided by 5 minus value of B divided by minus 2C. So, 2 into value of C is minus 0.1178. So, your optimum economic dose work out to be 104.6 kilogram, which is less than the maximum yield dose. Now, you want to see the response at optimum dose. So, the formula is yield at optimum dose minus yield at control. Now, you need to calculate these two yields. So, put the value of x 104.6 and 0 in the response equation, where you get wherever you have x, you put this value and you will get the y for that x, optimum x. So, answer here is 6359.96 and 4861.66 for control, for 0 and 404.4. So, response will be difference of these two, that is 1498.3, 1498.3. This is called as response at optimum dose. This is the increase because of optimum dose over the control. Then response in kg per kg K2O is equal to response at optimum dose divided by optimum dose. 1498 divided by 104, you get 14.32 kg grain per kg K2O. That means 1 kg K2O is giving you 14 kg grains. Profit is value of produce minus cost of K2O per hectare. Value of produce is equal to response at optimum dose into selling price. You must remember all these formula, otherwise you cannot calculate these kind of responses. Cost of K2O per hectare is equal to cost of 1 kg K2O into optimum dose. So, you get 1498.3 into 5 minus 10 into 104.6. So, 6445. Now, the last thing in this economic analysis is return in rupees per rupee on K2O. Profit per hectare divided by cost of K2O per hectare, and it comes out to be 6.16. That means by investing 1 rupee on fertilizer, one can get 6.16 rupees. Of course, this is very hypothetical example. Now, finally, you see the uses of response curve. They can be used for prediction, interpretation, interpolation, economic responses, and to compare different fertilizer sources and so on. And this is the way to present the final table or data of optimum economic dose you would like. If you write research paper, you can write in this way, and I feel that you must have learnt to know the economic optimum dose of fertilizer. Thank you very much.